Hello and welcome to anyone and everyone watching. Today I'm going to be starting out the first two video series I've had in mind. Basically every week for the rest of the winter, I'll be giving a recap of all the silly season news and giving my opinion on it all. There have been a few major announcements so far, I'm sure most of you guys are aware of, but I'll just briefly run over them all to get us all caught up. And for the summary here, I'm only going to be listing off changes. So for example, even though Eric Almirola postponed retirement, he is still returning the Stewart-Haas Racing 10 car as normal, so nothing is really changing. Anyway, here we go. For the Cup Series, speaking of Stewart-Haas Racing, Ryan Preece will be taking over the 41 ride, while its previous driver, Cole Custer, will be getting demoted back to the Stewart-Haas Racing Xfinity team. Petty GMS Racing will be making two major changes, replacing Ty Dillon with Noah Gragson in the 42 car, as well as bringing back seven-time champion Jimmy Johnson part-time. Soon after the announcement of his departure from Petty GMS, Ty Dillon made it official he will be piloting the 77 car for Ware Motorsports. Austin Hill will be making select starts for Beard Motorsports. AJ Allmendinger will rejoin Colleague Racing number 16 team, but this time full-time this coming season, and one of the possibly biggest career recoveries in the modern era of NASCAR. And then with Kurt Busch's retirement, Tyler Reddick, who previously intended to race for 2311 Racing in 2024, will be taking over a year early. And arguably the biggest Cup driver change going into 2023 will, of course, be Ty Gibbs heading to Joe Gibbs Racing, where he will drive the rebranded number 54 car in place of Kyle Busch. On the Xfinity side of things, Chandler Smith will be heading to Colleague Racing to take over for the Cup Series-bound AJ Allmendinger. Parker Kligerman will finally get the opportunity he deserves after multiple impressive part-time stints in the Truck Series, as he will become the full-time driver for Big Machine Racing. As already mentioned, Cole Custer will be bringing back the 00 ride for Stewart-Haas. Garrett Smithley will put together his first full-time season in any series since 2019 with BJ McLeod Motorsports in their flagship number 78 car. AM Racing will make their first attempt at fielding an Xfinity car with Austin Wayne Self behind the wheel. And lastly, for Xfinity, Brandon Jones will be departing from Joe Gibbs Racing and heading to the Junior Motorsports number 9 car. Then in trucks, the entire David Gilliland Racing organization will be rebranding to Tricon Garage, where they'll be running 3 full-time trucks for Corey Heim, Tanner Gray, and Taylor Gray. Daniel Dye will be joining GMS Racing full-time for his rookie season. Nick Sanchez, the 2022 ARCA champion, will be running the full schedule with a new Rev Racing team with technical support from Kyle Busch Motorsports. Kyle Busch Motorsports themselves will be undergoing massive changes, which I do have a big video coming out on, by the way, as they switch from Toyota to Chevy, and they'll be bringing on Chase Purdy full-time and Jack Wood part-time. And that is actually all the silly season news so far for all 3 NASCAR National Series. So without further ado, I'll just get into the news stories from this past week. Starting off with the Cup Series, the Live Fast Motorsports and Ware Racing, the 2 worst teams in the Cup Series, are both making changes to try to improve their 2023 results, as Live Fast will switch manufacturers from Ford to Chevrolet. Meanwhile, Ware Racing will strengthen their alliance with Ford and will begin a new technical alliance with RFK Racing. I personally don't think this switch to Chevy for Live Fast will make any noticeable difference in the team's performance. They already ranked dead last this past season out of all full-time drivers and owners' points. I would say it's very likely to happen again next year. Besides being a new and underfunded team, I would say the main thing holding them back right now is their drivers, and specifically BJ McLeod. And don't get me wrong, if I owned a Cup team, I'd want to drive for it too, but if you're attempting to grow your team, which I'm under the assumption they are, you have to maximize your results every week by having the most talented driver you can get your hands on, or you can settle for mediocre results with a driver who brings in consistently big sponsorship money. And BJ is, well, neither of those. He takes great care of his equipment, and I think it would make sense for him to race like super speedways, maybe a handful of other oval tracks. But for him to be running anywhere over 10 or so races just does not make any sense from an owner's standpoint. Like, BJ is at best a middle-of-the-pack Xfinity driver, so for him to have run 29 races this year and 28 in 2021 is without a doubt holding back the Live Fast Motorsports team. If they were to have put together some solid part-time drivers like Ryan Preece, who even had ties to Ford, or Kaz Grala, for example, they almost certainly would have had a better 2022 season. Definitely would have not finished last in the owners' points. But again, for 2023, I do not see anything changing. BJ McLeod will probably race the majority of the schedule with random road course ringers taking over on the road courses, and the team will remain as a back marker every week. As for Ware Racing, I think their alliance with RFK is slightly more promising. Upon hearing this announcement, most probably was roll their eyes, and rightfully so, because the talks of all these team alliances have gotten more and more common over the last few years. However, they almost never lead to any improvement for the team that's being helped. This time around, the only reason I can see even slight improvement out of Ware Racing is because, according to the team president of RFK, Steve Newmark, they actually will allow Ware Racing to lease space on the RFK campus, which reminds me to a lesser extent of the relationship between like the Wood brothers and Penske. So it sounds like this is actually going to be a committed alliance with both teams actually working together in person and combining resources. And with that said, at bare minimum, I expect Ware Racing to continue on their current trajectory, which has seen them go from an absolute joking cup to this year having a career season with 3 top 10s across their 2 full-time cars, as well as seeing Joey Hand and Ryan Preece be able to run top 20 for solid portions of their respective starts. And at best, I can see them getting on par with teams such as like Spire Motorsports or even Front Row Motorsports over the next few seasons, especially if they're able to get more up-and-coming Ford drivers into their cars. Then on the Xfinity side of things this week, Sage Karam was signed back on with Alpha Prime Racing for a part-time schedule beginning at Atlanta. Ryan Ellis so far is the only other driver confirmed to be on with them for 2023 who will also be part-time. And based on that, I'm guessing Alpha Prime is likely going to be having a wide variety of drivers again in their 2 cars, but maybe they'll decide to put a full-time driver in one of the cars, who knows. And for them, I pretty much expect similar performance to last season with a fair share of ups and downs, as can be expected when having different drivers rotating in and out pretty much every week. JD Motorsports announced their 2023 lineup with Bailey Curry and Brennan Poole both going full-time. Bailey Curry will be returning back for his second year at the team after a very solid 2022, where despite only scoring 1 top 10, Curry logged in 13 top 20s and outperformed his teammate Ryan Vargas consistently. And speaking of Vargas, he announced that he would be leaving JD Motorsports a few months back, mainly due to the lack of funding. And towards the end of the season, Brennan Poole began taking over Vargas' number 6 ride, where in 3 races he scored a best finish of 14th at Homestead, and he was running top 20 for most of the day at Texas before he got caught up in some other people's mess and ended up crashing out. With his funding and very impressive results by JD Motorsports standards, it's not that big of a surprise to me that he'd be back with him next season. In my opinion, this is very deserved for Poole, as very few other drivers have gotten screwed in their careers as regularly as him, from Chip Ganassi Racing and his Ponzi scheme sponsor DC Solar breaking his Xfinity Series contract, to finishing a runner-up to Kyle Busch in the Truck Series in an underfunded truck with a broken sway bar and a 2007 chassis, to breaking his wrist and being sidelined for nearly the entire 2021 season, to now this past season being subject to drive a pretty much bucket of nuts and bolts for the quickly declining Mike Harmon Racing and Jimmy Means Racing teams before finally landing with JD Motorsports. So yeah, looking back, it's very impressive that Poole's even racing still at this point. I certainly hope to see him continue to outperform his equipment in 2023, as he's always been known to do. And lastly for this week, and by far the biggest news this week, GMS Racing's newest addition to their team, Rajah Caruth, has been confirmed to pilot the number 24 truck full-time for the 2023 season. 2022, Carruth quickly made a name for himself with a 3rd place overall finish in the ARCA Menard Series, as well as earning a best finish of 11th out of 4 truck races for Spire Motorsports, as well as 3 top 20s for Alpha Prime Racing and his 7 Xfinity starts, including a very impressive 12th place run at Martinsville. But that being said, he still has a lot of growing to do as a driver, which can most prominently be seen from his lap 1 wreck in the Xfinity race at Pocono, along with 2 of his 4 truck starts resulting in crashes. I see Carruth being a threat to make the playoffs and potentially win a race or 2, but definitely not a championship in his rookie season. I'm also a little concerned about the whole state of GMS Racing at this point, the truck series, as they downsized from 5 to 2 trucks from just 2021 to 2022, and they still saw Jack Wood have an absolutely abysmal season for them this year. And it's pretty much up in the air how much of that lies on the team, how much of that's on the driver, but it's reasonable to be concerned, as it has the exact team Rajah will be inheriting for 2023. On top of that, it appears GMS will be running at least 4 trucks this coming season, as on top of Rajah, Daniel Dye, and Grant Infinger, it's being highly speculated right now that Colby Howard will be leaving McAnally Hilgeman Racing in favor of GMS. As again, it's still very much up in the air, but with Colby's recent engagement with GMS Racing on social media, I would have to say it's highly unlikely that we don't see an announcement in the coming weeks confirming him to go there. And yeah, with all that said, I'm very unsure how 2023 will go for Rajah, but my overall expectations for him, yeah, again, pretty much a minimum to finish around like 15th in points, be a contender to at least make the playoffs, and then hopefully be in contention for at least a win or two over the course of the whole season. Well, yeah, that is all for this week's silly season news recap. This video took a bit longer than future ones will, since I basically went through every single 2023 driver change prior to this week back at the beginning of the video. But yeah, make sure to comment down below you guys' thoughts on these announcements. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as I will be making these news recaps every single week until the beginning of the 2023 season. And also stay tuned, I will be dropping a full video very shortly over the big changes at Fast Motorsports going on this off season. But yeah, until then, peace out.